This is something I say often. Knowledge is power only if it's followed by actions.
Yeah. Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just knowledge in your brain.
If you have the knowledge, just share it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, not everybody is willing to do what you have to do to get to a point.
Right. So for me, a business plan is the blueprint for success. Welcome to the Multifamily of the Cuff, and this is gonna be episode number 9.
Number 9, yes.
Awesome. Irene,
Well, welcome guys to this episode number 9. We're super happy that we are here. I have seen and I have been checking, and I'm so happy that people are actually listening and downloading the episode. That makes me really, really happy.
that's awesome. I like that. Very early, we already seen this podcast picking up.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that.
yeah, nice. So today we have a special guest. You don't see anybody here. Well, the special guest is Fernando. Fernando, welcome.
Thank
So
you.
today we're gonna talk about pristine concepts, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why? Why did you start? Why did you come with this idea to start a business on your own?
Good question. Good question. Do you remember sitting in 2017 and actually, if we go a little bit back, I've been wanting to come up with something, and I was always aware, been very intentional with everything I was doing, and trying to find something that I could do aside from the work I had at the time. But I remember, and especially, and this is for our audience, when you're intentional, when you're looking to do something, and you're intentional about it, you might be more aware to the possibilities and opportunities that will come your way. Okay, but only um, if you are looking for them. Okay, this means that you have to also feed your brain with information.
Well, you have to be open.
You have to be open, right? Exactly. Otherwise, opportunities can just walk right in front of you and you won't be able to see them, right? Um, this time it was 2017, I remember, November 2017, or October, to be honest with you. And I have a meeting with this regional, and I have taken her out to lunch. And I remember clearly that at lunch, she had to pick up the phone. She had a phone call and she said, Fernando, I'm sorry, but I need to take this call. And, I said, go ahead. Next thing I know, she's cursing. She's like, F this and F that. And I was like, okay. So I told the waiter, hey, listen, let's just take 2 drinks because this lady's going to need something to drink after that call. Um, you know, 5 minutes went by. She hung on the phone and she said, I cannot believe how F up
Mm-hmm.
these companies are. I'm like, can you explain a little bit more? She said, painting companies, cleaning companies, landscaper, they fucking suck. I'm like, damn, that's a really strong word.
And you already were working for the multifamily, of
Right,
course.
yeah. So exactly. So me working in the service industry, providing services to the multifamily, I couldn't comprehend why she was so upset about the services that these companies or whatever providers were giving her. But just the fact that I saw her frustration in her face gave me, that was my, okay. So I said to her, can you elaborate a little bit more? Because I'm kind of intrigued why you're so upset. And she started going on and naming all the issues that she was having in her team, because she's a regional, she has teams under her, and they were sharing their frustration as well to her. And I said, okay, just let me know, can you tell me a little bit more how or why you're so bother? And she said, she started venting with me. I'm like, hold on, hold that thought. And then I started taking notes. So I took the notes, and I was so intrigued by it. I had that idea. I just said there was something about what she was saying that I told myself I think I can solve those issues.
Yeah, because what happened was that you saw a problem that needed to be solved.
Exactly.
Okay.
She just throw a bunch of problems, and then in my mind, as I'm processing them, I said that can be solved, right? And basically, a lot of time, that's how ideas, come up. And what I did, I took that information, and I went to other clients of mine at the time, and I asked them, just simply asked them the question, "Are you having these same issues?" They said, "Oh my gosh, Fernando, you cannot believe," and then they added more. They just keep adding more issues. So what I did, I collected all this information, I put it on a piece of paper, and then I solved the problems on the piece of paper. Okay, this problem here, so I just write everything down. So that was 2017, and as you and I know, for the audience that don't know, Irene and I are the co-founder of Pristine Concept, and remember, we didn't wing this. This is nothing that just let's just try and see how it's gonna go. We plan it. So to the audience that is they're working on an idea. If you're working on something, a project, a side gig or something, just don't try to wing it. Just put some effort into it, plan it. Try to get some information. Now, this is what I always say. You have to take actions. So if you're putting some knowledge in your brain and you're reading, you're listening to a podcast, you are audiobooks, whatever the case is, and you're feeding information, then the next step from it is to take an action from something that you just learned.
Yeah, because you can write a plan, but the plan is not gonna
come alive.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't do anything, like you can write it down, and then it's if just writing down in there is not gonna happen.
Correct. So like I always say, this is something I say often. Knowledge is power only if it's followed by actions.
Yeah. Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just knowledge in your brain. And there's tons of people that they go to school, they go to college, they get even a PhD, and they still don't think that they're ready for the next step.
And I will add to that you don't have you have to be really open-minded. Like if you write down your plan, just don't get frustrated if it doesn't happen the way you're writing it down.
Correct.
Because sometimes you have the idea, and that happened to us. We had the idea, but it wasn't anything similar. The base is the same because we're working for the same industry and we're doing basically what we thought we will be doing. But a lot of things changed at the beginning.
Right.
And we were just like, okay, and there was a plan, but we were just open-minded to whatever. Yeah, like.
So, and Irene, that's a good point, because not only that you have to be open-minded, but what we experience is the faster we go through the obstacles and the faster we fail, the faster we're going to learn. And then we evolve super quick.
Yeah.
We were experiencing things that happen weekly.
Yeah.
And
it was weekly changes.
Yeah, but in comparison to other companies, we experience things in a week that some other people might experience in a whole year. I remember our growth was so fast up that we were experiencing so many things, and I have talked to other people, and they said, "Wow, I haven't even encountered those problems because we're not at that size yet." But because we were going super fast up, then we were weekly. So our mind was in a fast pace, and we needed to make decisions in a really fast, at a fast pace.
I think it's because when you're not afraid, like you remove the fear, or you get empowered by the fear, because there are two types of personalities. You are fearless. You're not afraid of anything. The opposite. Like I get worried and I get frustrated, and I always I'm the thinker. Like here, I'm like, oh no, but what happened if? What if? But then I learned to get empowered by it.
Well, and Irene, I think it's not that I'm fearless. It's that I don't freeze when I encounter fear.
Well, then
Because
you kind of like you're not like
yeah, but
sometimes
so
I'm
I no. What happened is that fear fuel me. So I get the fuel.
well, you get
I don't- I
empowered
don't-
by the fear,
right,
but
so-
but
it's not
very
that
very
but,
fast.
But I'm not that. It's not like like I don't. I have the feeling. Sometimes I still wonder. What will happen if it goes. If it goes left. So,
But you don't freeze by it.
Exactly.
It's not like me. Like like if I have the thought and then I get freeze and I have to take a moment. I have to breathe. I have to meditate. I have to do all the things that I do just to keep going.
Right.
But I learned like these past 4 years I have learned to get like empowered by it. Like I freeze, but I'm like okay. I know I can win you. I know I can win this one. And then I keep moving. And, like I think there are two types of people. Like the people like you don't, you might have the thought, but you don't freeze by it.
Right.
And there are people like me that, like we get like, oh my gosh.
And you freeze. Okay.
And then.
So then, when we go and we put put the effort into the business plan, and what is that business plan is like. So for me, a business plan is the blueprint for success. Again, followed by actions, and to be open-minded that there will be changes, and that business plan is just going to give you the map to where you need to go. But however, during the process, you need to make sure that you start shifting and tweaking, because you're going to encounter obstacles and things that need to be adapted and changed. So then, what's something else that's important? Finances. So is they going to make sense? Because a lot of time people just think that the idea is the greatest, but it might not be profitable. So you need to make sure that there are other companies doing the same thing, because if there is other companies doing the same thing, it means that there is an audience for your product.
And that's a common mistake that I have seen, because many people think like they need to get an idea that is not out there.
Right.
So they can get, like, oh, I'm going to become a millionaire because this is the 1 million, idea. And it's not like that. You need to, it's better actually when there are a lot of people doing.
Right, because you already know.
Yeah.
You don't have to convince people that you need it. And I mean, we already know there have been very successful companies that have changed the world. When it comes to that, one of them, Airbnb, Uber, Facebook, even Apple when they came out with, changing the industry and so on and so forth. But those are very specific, there has been many, failures of other people that trying to come up with something, thinking that, the majority are going to need it. But also, there's going to be a problem for marketing and trying to convince people, and why not? So consistency to trying to change, a complete industry.
But I think that's the little secret around when you're starting a business. If there are already people doing what you do, and there are a lot of companies doing another things, like different things, but they have a culture and they have this amazing way of doing business, you have to copy what they're doing. Not copy, but you have to see what they're doing and take advantage of whatever they're applying. If it's working, it might work for you.
Right. So then, and I'm going through the steps, right? So how you start a company and what we did exactly. So we went through the business plan, financial planning, right? And then we were ready at the time. We set goals, and we said, this day is when we're gonna start, and we did. So we were sticking to every program, from this and this. From this time to this time, we're gonna do the name and paperwork and everything that needs, to create a business. We did in a specific time that we said that we were gonna do it, and then we went through the marketing to market the company before it was launched. So we did that, and it was very intentional, right? So I remember that this whole idea was to have our side gig, just to have something on the side. Little that we know is that after the financial planning, that we saw the revenue that we were going to get, we were like, oh my God, if we actually fall, go through this plan, this company is going to reach 189,000 in our first year. But we need to stick to this plan, right?
And there was one service that we were
Yeah,
planning.
right. So yeah,
Like,
we didn't even know about
we didn't even know about
everything
anything
about
else.
it. Yeah,
It was
so
just one service
right.
that we did the plan, like the financial
correct. So
and all
that
the
was
things.
that was the cleaning, and we stick to that. And then I remember, so we started the company April 2nd, 2018, and we're pushing through. I remember the total amount of our first round of payroll. It was $1,328, and I know that because I read that many times. So $1,328. That was the total amount of our first payroll. The first check that I went to deliver was $325. So for the people that are listening, and this is very important because now I'm talking about the planning of the company, and then you have to work about around the finances, okay? But now, what I'm about to say is what made Prisco special. Pristine Concept, very, very, very early found out about is why. It's why we do what we're doing right now. And that day, I remember, I went to drop off the check, $325, to one of our employees at the time. She opens the envelope because I remember I said to you, I want to deliver the checks, right? So she grabbed the check, the envelope, opened it up, saw the check, and then she went like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Because of you guys and the opportunity that I have to work, I can pay this piece of this check is going towards paying rent or food or whatever, right?" I was shocked about her reaction after getting the check. So I remember I delivered the rest of them, but the fact that she was the first one is the one that made the impact. And I remember coming to you and I said, "Irene, what we're doing is bigger than us. We have a huge responsibility moving forward that everybody and the people that are working for our organization are expecting this. And we have a huge responsibility because they're working super hard, and at the end of that week, they need to expect that money so they can, live their life and do whatever they need to do." So how crazy is that at that time we were already having employees and we were having, changing or helping in their families, right? And I remember that not long after that, you said, we were counting. I remember we were counting units. We were counting how many units or apartments. For those that doesn't know, units are the apartment that we do service. And I remember, let's just stop counting units, but we should count the amount of families that we're helping.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, so what are we doing here, right? And that's where our why was born.
Yep.
Okay, and we were okay. So what are we doing here? And basically, after seeing the people that work for us, we said we're gonna help minorities, just like you and me, to believe that there's more to just cleaning and painting. That we all capable of just succeeding and pursuing bigger dreams, and we can actually give them the tools and prep them to just continue on, with their life, and then make them believe based on our example, based on what we're building here at Pristine Concept, that, there's limitless opportunities out there, but working towards giving them the tools has been the most beautiful thing that we've done for Pristine Concept.
And that's, I think that's super important for everyone that is listening that has an idea, or if they're starting a business, or even if they're not. Sometimes you don't have the why right away, because we didn't have it. Like the reason we're
It wasn't before like we didn't create the company with a why. It just
Exactly.
came.
Exactly. It came.
Thanks God, it was super early.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen often like that.
But that's what I'm saying here. That is super important for people to not get frustrated by it. I mean, you might start a company thinking the reason of me doing this is yada yada yada, and then something happened and it changed, and it give like a complete different uh, feeling and
Right.
a different way of thinking, and it empowers you to go through. Like I'm gonna keep doing this, but now I have this
Purpose.
yeah, this purpose and this how do you call that push. It might not be there at the beginning, and don't feel frustrated if it's not there.
But at times, and even if it's money, right?
Yeah,
So,
because we
but
started the thing just
It's a
because we
side
wanted
gig.
a
So,
side
but
gig.
see, what happened is, a lot of people think that because you save money, it, like that is doesn't count as a purpose, because it's not the fact that you're getting money; it's what you're going to do with the money. So. Is it to buy freedom? Is it to change your lifestyle? Is it to take your kids to save for their education? So even though you're working towards make more money, but people think that money is so empty. No, the purpose of behind the making more money is exactly what it is that they're going to do with the money.
Yeah, and
So
that's that. I think that I remember one time I was listening to this podcast like years ago when we were first starting the company, and we we were already, we already knew the purpose and the why. And I listened to this podcast, and they were doing like an exercise around, around the why question for everything. And the exercise was something like, okay, you write down why you're doing what you're doing. And many people will say, well, I do this because of my children. They're my motivation. But they then challenge you to ask 5 more times why. Every answer you get, ask why. Okay, because of your children. Why? And then you're like, if you start doing that, then you get to the like,
okay, so you get
it's
to the
whole
bottom of
completely,
so you get to the bottom of
Yeah.
the reason why you're actually doing
yeah,
it.
like I mean,
Perfect.
you can say money, but then you ask why, and then
And
you
then
get
you
like,
get perfect. So to those that are listening, and you are trying to develop your company, and you're listening to us because you not only that want to get to the multifamily, I think this episode is pretty cool. So you can have a little bit of a sense of what we've done and why and the reason why Pristine Concept is special, because not only that we were able to understand our purpose and why we're doing this, and the fact that we have stayed strong on our belief, and we have been protecting our why and our purpose so hard, because we were able to find and define our why so early. And I don't know if you guys just remember that I said that our forecast was 189,000 for our first year. But because we were able to find and define our why so early, and we stick to it, so for from that beginning through our entire first year, and then as a result of it, we were able to end our first year not with 189,000. We exceeded that to actually close our first year. 365 days of grind, of hours, and just pushing through and sticking to our belief. And then we ended up with what? $1.1 million in our first fucking year. Meaning that we didn't focus on the money. We were just focusing on trying to hire as many people as I could, trying to help as many families as we could. And then because of that, we forgot completely about our revenue. We were just, how many people do we have? How many people do we have? Can we hire more? Can we
Yeah.
hire more? And then we saw so early, like people were calling us, hey, thank you for the opportunity. Oh, I don't sleep on the couch anymore. Now I was able to rent an apartment.
Yep.
And that was just our fuel. We were just so fucking fired up to continue just hiring more people and more people. And we're like, where are all these people coming from?
Yeah.
I remember, doing the interviews, doing the training, doing, going out and inspecting their work, being the manager, hiring, the management. And then you had two jobs. You had two full-time jobs. You were in, doing all the back-end work and then making sure all the paperwork was on point, collecting the money,
Yeah, I was doing invoicing, I was doing payroll, everything.
all that. So it was a combination of so many things, but we were driven by what was bigger than the actual business. We were helping others and just keep helping. And then that's when we're like, holy shit, look what happened.
Yep.
So we weren't driven by the money. We weren't driven to trying to reach to that million. We were driven by, hiring more people. So this podcast and trying to, share with our audience that, finding that is extremely important. If you see one of the biggest, most successful companies in the world, you look at Apple, when you already know that I'm a huge fan of them because their purpose is to challenge the status quo. So meaning that they want to just change what's already there and how can be different. How can they make it better? And at times some people just kind of fall into like, well, I'm going to live life like it is. But that and everything else that has been invented have always been invented by somebody that is just as normal as you and me. They don't have two heads. They don't have four arms. It's just the willingness to do something different. And at times it makes a bigger impact when it's being driven by a purpose, something that is huge. So I think that will be the takeaway for us today is that company as Pristine Concept and so many other ones, are driven by a purpose that is bigger than our actual service.
Yeah, but it is important to keep questioning that why, like every single year, because that's what we do. Like every single year, we sit down and we stick to our basis. You know what I mean? And then we keep adding to that why, and we keep perfecting the purpose. And we're not afraid to change things if we have to, just to be more towards that.
Right, and remember, so not only that what you're saying is true, that you have to, because it's gonna get more clear and more clear as you keep moving forward, right? But also, I think you have to be true to yourself and protect it at all costs. And remember the time where 2019, and one of our team members was that person was discriminated against. I remember she came to the office. We didn't have an office at the time, but she came to us and she said she was crying and expressed herself how she was discriminated. And, that client at the time, I remember it was worth over $40,000 a year. And you and I didn't hesitate, and we had to fire the client right there on the spot, right? That was our first encounter that we had to fire a client, and that was for us to protect our why. So if we believe that we need to give our team members a good experience at work, and we want them to be better, we need to protect every single one of them, right? So how about when you have to do the same thing, that you do encounter another team member that has been discriminated against, but this time the client is over $500,000. What did we do?
We did the same.
We did the same.
Yep.
That client has to go. Now, guys, if you're listening, it hurts. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what will hurt more?
And sometimes it takes, it takes a real conversation, because when the biggest client, when we went through that,
right,
it wasn't like immediately. Like we didn't take. I mean, of course.
I know we sat on it and we talk about it.
Yeah, and we analyzed the thing, and then we were like, yeah, no, it's not gonna happen.
Right. But it's not like we doubted what we were gonna do. We just went through some logistics and how we were gonna do it. But the fact or the message is that you have to protect your integrity and your purpose, and it shouldn't have a price. You shouldn't give up or be hypocrite to your integrity based on money. So you're gonna be rewarded. I promise you, you're gonna get rewarded by greater things if you stay and stick through your belief.
Yep.
So I think this message today is pretty clear. I think it's pretty cool for our audience to understand who we are. This podcast alone is another way of showing what we're about. Helping others.
Yep.
This podcast, we don't monetize out of it.
Nope.
It's volunteering. We like to share information, share our experiences. We bring the most elite people from the apartment industry to interview them for our audience. And what do we get out of it? Nothing. But what do we get is people knowing, and we are actually helping people that we don't even know that right now are making decisions, and writing things down on trying to come up with their why because this podcast.
Yep.
So I think that's the coolest thing that we can do for other people.
Yeah, and it's I remember some time ago I heard someone saying that all the knowledge you have is for you to share.
Right.
It's not to keep, because sometimes people get weird about especially when they're starting a company, that they're protecting their ideas. Like I'm not gonna share these because then someone can steal it, and then I'm like no, if you know, I mean, if you have the knowledge, just share it. Like, because at the end of the day, not everybody is willing to do what you have to do to get to a point.
Right.
And the people that are willing to do it, and they are, like ready to go, they're gonna be thankful, and they're gonna be grateful that you are sharing the ideas you're sharing, and then they're gonna do the same.
Right. So I think we can wrap up this episode. I believe that the people that are listening right now are going to appreciate this one a lot. I know we're gonna be mixing this type of podcast and episode, with more information about the company, what we've done, and
Well, this podcast is actually for celebrating 4 years of Pristine Concept.
That's right. Yes. So it's coming up soon. I think next week.
April the 2nd. Yeah.
April 2nd is coming up. So definitely this one we can call it, our first year anniversary.
Yeah.
And so. Again, guys, I hope that this is very, important for you guys, and hopefully you take advantage of what we just said. There's going to be tons of other information we'll share later on. But this is for you guys. This is all for you. I appreciate you guys continuing, supporting us and giving us likes and comments on, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. If you can look us up on YouTube and do a subscribe, that will be amazing. So that way, you can be notified when we come up with the next episode. So thank you again for all your support.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for taking the time to listening to us and for the support. And again, if you have questions, ideas, feedback, whatever you have, just let us know. You can send us an email. I'm gonna put the email in the notes, and just follow us in the social media.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.